rust match tuple inside and none. And none. Yeah, there's no like fancy patterns here, I think. Point. Match P. Alright, so there's a change color here. He's doing the RGB thing. I wish I had an example where I get the whole color. String RGB AJS. Structure structs and tuples. How do I match the whole tuple? Guards already and didn't show me how to get out. Maybe it's not supported? Bindings. Oh my god. Where's this? Okay, again, there is a detail that I don't really know how to do it, so let's just do the simple way, which is break this into 3 variables. RGB. Yay, it works, but I don't know, I wish I knew how that's work. How I was doing that. Who's here? Is there somebody here? Well, I don't know. If you're watching, just say hi. It's lonely here. Okay, so I'm done with this example. I'm not really happy, but not that sad with this, because tuples are not that nice anyway. Cool, so tests. Let's learn about tests. Compiling of exercise tests, test 1 failed. Please try again, here's the output. Okay, let's learn how to write tests. So I have a test, can assert stuff here. I probably just need to assert true, because, okay, so the important part is all that syntax, right? So I need to do that thing again, that annotation thing, and then I create a mod called tests, and then I have this other thing again. Probably every function that has this is a test, and then you can do the assert, and I think I fix it. Yes, yeah, probably I'm gonna use a generator. There's a lot of things to type to have a test. There's probably good snippets for that. Cool, so now we can check the other test too. So this test has a problem. Make it the test compile. You can assert equal. All right, so you can probably just do 1 and 1. And it's gonna give me that 1 equals 1. Wow, and if I put 2, it's gonna break. Look at that. The compiler errors are much better than the output of the tests. Like the test is actually kind of hard to read. There's no colors, no arrows pointing to things. The compiler is like amazing. Whatever. Cool. So now let's go to the next one. All right. Next one is test 3. All right. This test is on testing our function. Make it do that in such a way that the test passes. Then write the second test that tests whether we get the result we expect to get when we call isEven 5. Okay, so there's an isEven function. The test not passing is true when even. Pretty much you need to call the isEven function. We need to pass an even number and should be true. And that's gonna pass the test. Nice. And now we need to do another test. I'm assuming you need to do this. That's a snippet, right? Yeah, see? That already has one. Nice. Is false when odd. And I'm gonna do assert not isEven. Pass number 5. And my snippet. I don't know how to use the snippets on this editor. Okay. It got the test inside that thing. Okay. Yay, it worked. Cool. So now can come back here and delete this. Cool. So let's see what's next. Oh, it's time for a new quiz. Quiz. This is a quiz for the following section. Tests. This quiz is on testing our function. Make it to do it in such a way that the test passes. Then write the second test to test the result. It's pretty much like the last one, but okay. So you have a test. Start equals times 2, 4 equals 8. Nice. Returns twice of a negative number. Okay. Cert equal times 2 minus 4 equals 8. I think it's interesting that I cannot put the semicolon, the tests, and it doesn't break. Because I'm returning. Oh, it's probably because the cert equal returns nothing. Okay. Yeah, I don't know math. Look at that. Cool. It worked. Now I'm done. Let's go to the next one. Make sausage. All right, now you're gonna learn how to make the sausages. Somebody told me you never want to know that. Print sausage. Oh, that looks great. Ah, so it's modules. Make me compile. Executing Rustlings modules. Cool. So to use modules, if I'm with the main function, I have access to everything that is on the same level that I have. But everything that is defined inside the module is private to only that module, unless I make it public. So the compiler is probably saying that this thing is not public. The function make sausage is defined here. Function make sausage is private. See, that's what I said. So the way we fix that is by making this function public. But then you're gonna tell me, but I don't want the function to be public. I want to be living only on my package. Yes, but I didn't make this module public. That means only who is on the same level can use this. So if this is a library and it goes in a crate, I inside my crate can use the thing inside my sausage factory method, but for outside the my crate, the sausage factory is private, so nobody needs to know how the sausage is made. Okay. All right. Cool. that's a big one. Modules again. All right, make me compile. So we have a module delicious snacks. It's using self fruits pear as fruit and self veggies cucumber as veggie. That's because it's accessing the things that are inside. So you have access to fruits because it's on the same level, and 9 has access to pear because it's public. Same thing for the cucumber. Okay. But the main, I'm doing favorite snacks, delicious snacks, fruit, delicious snacks, veggie. Okay, so that's nice. So those guys are public, but the mode veggie is not public. That means that only this guy has access to veggie. But I'm not using that, right? I'm just using this thing that got defined. But when I do a use, it's still private. It's only used inside this thing. So if I want to use outside, I'm going to have to make those guys public. So to make sure I'm right, let's first read error message saying that those things are private. Yeah, fruit is private. It's defined here. The compiler, man, I'm in love with this compiler. I think all I need to do is put a pub here. So you do a pub use. That way it's like a use and make it public. This way I can use outside of the package. Let's see. Yeah, it worked. Nice. Those modules are actually really nice too. I like the way they're thought about it. Okay, macros. Oh, I know nothing about macros. That'll be fun. I didn't read the part of the book about macros. So make me compile. Execute macros 1 for hint. I'm not done. So macro rules. My macro. Println check out my macro. I think every macro needs a bang, but that's just because all the macros I've seen has a bang, and that's probably the error. Not found in this scope. Note, warn unused macros only by default. Yeah, I think is that. Let me get a hint. Rustlings hint. Macros 1. When you call a macro, you need to add something special compared to a regular function call. If you're stuck, take a look at what's inside my macro. Yes, so I think I was right. Gotta do this with the bank, and it's gonna work. Macros, man. Macros are powerful. And it's the kind of thing that destroys your brain when you're coding one. There's probably a ton of awesome credits since there's macros. Oh, that's probably how Diesel works. Oh, anyway. I don't know anything about macros in this language, so it'll be fun to learn about it. Alright, so macros 2. My macro rules, blah blah blah. Println check out my macro. Okay, it is not working. You cannot find my macro in this scope. You need to define the macro before you call the macro. Is that a thing? Maybe. Macros don't quite play by the same rules of the rest of Rust in terms of what is available where. Like other things in Rust, the order of worth to define a macro versus where I use it actually matters. Yeah, cool. So here's the problem. The macro definition needs to be in the code before because it's a macro. So you gotta run it to define the macro, otherwise it doesn't. And that's pretty much like a call of some sort. Still think it should work since like it's out of my function, but okay, whatever. Your compiler is already really awesome, so I give you that. Oh man, I fucked up. Okay, save it. Alright, and now First tree. Alright, so macro rules my macro, until I check out my macro. I find my macro. Make me compile without taking the macro out of the module. Oh, so now the macro is in a module. And the macro is not public. How do I make the macro public? Should I put pub? And should I do macros? Or every macro is pub by default? Try exporting the macro. Huh. So the syntax for exporting a macro is different. Gonna find my macro in macros and use a macro definition. So pub use my macro. No, my macro in the root. I cannot turn as resolution for a macro. Try simplifying macro imports. Okay, maybe it's because I didn't do this. Pub use my macro. No, my macro in the root. Self. No, my macro. My macro bank. Expected one. Okay, time for a hint. In order to use a macro outside of its module, you need to do something special to the module to lift the macro out of its parent. The same trick also works on string crate statements for crates that have exported macros. If you see any of those around. I really don't know what it's talking about. And that hint doesn't help. It would be nice to have a link to the book. Let me see. Macros. So macro export. So I gotta do a macro export. Macro export. My macro. Failure to resolve, cannot find my macros. Did I delete this? What? Every macro is like root. Okay, you need to read that chapter to understand what the fuck. Yeah, I don't really understand it. Okay. Apparently, if you do the macro export, the macro gets into global scope, and I think you need to do the extern crate thing to get the macro from another crate, but I don't really know a lot about crates. So we'll learn it eventually. Hey, someone's here. Who's here? I'm really new to this, so I don't really know how to use the Twitch stuff. I don't really know how to see who is here, which is insane. Let me see if I get into this. If I go here this way, what happens? Can I? Man, those interfaces are really hard. I don't even know how to get to the chat. Hey, pew pew. How's it going, man? So I'm banging my head against Rust here, trying to learn this language. It's pretty fun, but I pretty much don't know anything about it. Have you played with this before? So yeah, it has this cool thing called Rustlings. It's like a bunch of broken code. See, like, this is all the code already fixed. And it teaches you how to do the basic stuff in the language, like, oh, how you create a structure, how do you use strings, how you create a nonce. And I'm pretty much doing the zero exercises and learning along the way, and learning that I suck a lot. But it's quite fun. And since it's like 2020 and everybody's lonely, I decided to do this using Twitch just for the sake of trying to talk to someone. So I'm really happy you're here. All right, let's keep going. So macros 3 is done. I have no idea how this works, but it works. Let's see what's next. Cool, macros 4. So it's creating a macro, my macro. It prints something, and then it... All right, it's starting to get crazy. Macros are crazy. Oh, so it's creating like an overload. So there is a definition without parameters that just prints check out my macro, but it can also receive a parameter and do something with that. Cool. So that's pretty much like how print is. Okay, I like that. Make me compile. This is not compiling. Nice. So that means that's not just how you do it. Cool. What is the error message? No rules expect this token in the macro call. I have no idea how to do macros. Let me see the hint. You only need to add a single character to make this compile. The way macros are written, it wants to see something between each macro arm, so it can separate them. Okay. Is it a comma? No. Okay. Maybe it's the same comma. Yeah, that's it. All right. So this is just pretty much like showing you that it can make arms, and it didn't put the same column there, so you're forced to read this code. Huh. But that's interesting because all the language is static typed, but when you're doing a macro, you